Good afternoon, Fit Fam. This is Stefan, and in today's video, I'll be talking about how you can begin to express yourself and not live a life in restriction. Now, the reason for this video comes from my experience in fitness as not only a personal trainer, but as I've gone to different training facilities. And every time I enter into a training facility, a lot of times what I'll see a lot of individuals that have restricted themselves and have limited themselves from expressing themselves. And this comes from really our compartmentalization as human beings. And what a lot of individuals will do is they believe that they are separate from existence. They are separate from what is going on. And really, in today's video, what I want to express to the individual is that you are not separate from anything. Everything is connected. And so what you're doing is you're restricting yourself from fully expressing and really being connected to experience itself. And so for the individual, when you are going down a journey in fitness or development, what you want to have happen is you want to begin to express yourself more and more and more. And you want to come from a state of restriction and believing that you are separate from things to really realizing that you are constantly connected with everything and you are beginning to outpour yourself. And so a lot of individuals, what they will do is they go out in public, and because we as human beings, we have, and this really comes from childhood, when we are around other humans and we don't get accepted immediately by them, we believe that there is something wrong with us, or we believe that we have not, there's something that needs to be fixed or something that needs to be changed. And this stays with us subconsciously even as we become adults. And as adults, we go into places or we go into certain environments and we don't express ourselves. And the only way we're able to express ourselves freely is if we're around close friends or maybe relatives or people who we trust. And so really, when you begin to express yourself and not restrict yourself, really it's trusting yourself. And beginning to trust yourself comes from a sense of not only self-respect, but the decreasing in self-doubt. And self-doubt comes from when you allow other people's thoughts and actions to dictate your state of being. And so if you want to fully express yourself, the first thing you must realize is other people's thoughts and opinions cannot dictate your current state. You have to be in full control of your state of self. And so once you realize that, you begin to realize, okay, when you go out in public and you're around other humans, you can just be yourself. And what this will do is this will open up a lot of opportunities for you. So if you're an individual and you're wanting to see success, not only in fitness, but in life in general, opportunity is something that you don't have to sit back and kind of wait to present itself. Opportunity is something that you can create yourself. So let's say you are in a social environment and you restrict yourself. Well, you're restricting yourself from potential opportunities. But let's say you are fully expressing yourself. Well, now opportunity is right at your feet. All you have to do is walk up to an individual or simply be yourself, and a multitude of opportunities will make themselves present to you. And so what you don't want to happen is there's two types of protagonists in the world. There is the passive protagonist and the active protagonist. Now, there's nothing wrong if you're either or, but if you want to take hold and really take reins over your life and take command, you want to be the active protagonist. And what that means is you have to step out into the unknown. You have to step out into environments where you might not be the most comfortable in. And so when you come into those sort of environments where you have to express yourself in order to get those opportunities, you have to, and what I like to tell, analogy I like to use is the hurricane analogy, where there's a storm going on around you and you want to be the peace, you want to be the eye amidst the storm. And what this will have happen is you'll become an attractive piece to other people, because other people can sense other individuals that have peace. And so if you are in a state where you're restricted, then essentially you're allowing the chaos to overwhelm you. You're allowing the chaos to dictate how you act and how you relate, instead of you're more so being the order amidst the chaos. And so if you can become that order, then you'll begin to attract other people or things or opportunities into your sphere, and you can use this to your advantage. And so really this not only will help you in terms of fitness, because in fitness, in the beginning portions, you want to be a sponge. You want to soak up a lot of knowledge, because you're going to be very naive in terms of what you'll need to implement in order for you to be successful. And so if you adopt the mindset of being able to express self and take on those opportunities, you'll begin to have conversations with other individuals that'll be able to pour into you more and more knowledge and more information and more that positive reinforcement, which will help aid you in the latter stages of your fitness journey. But let's say you're just trying to network and you're just trying to be successful. This will also help you, because now you won't be in states where you're just sitting back and you're like, oh man, like what do I do? No, you'll be able to step forth and really grasp. And so they don't teach us this in school. They don't teach us. Sometimes you can go to college, you might be able to take a course, and a lot of individuals learn this from experience. But you have to. It's something you have to. It's like shooting or any endeavor that you first begin to try to become good at. Like when the first time you do it, you're not going to be very. It's not gonna feel natural. There's gonna be a lot of mistakes. There's gonna be a lot of times where there's gonna be a lot of doubt. But the more you do it, you put in those repetitions, the easier and easier it will become. I'll use myself for example. When I first started on YouTube and I first started making YouTube videos, talking on the camera was very hard for me. I was very restricted. I didn't allow my thoughts to flow and ebb. What I allowed was I was very in tune with myself. But over the repetitions, over time, I got used to expressing myself more and more. And so the same thing will happen to you. The more you begin to let go of that restriction, begin to express yourself more. Not only will you feel free from a spiritual perspective, but also from a mental perspective, your thoughts will begin to flow as well. My gentleman, when you're talking to a young lady and she's super attractive and you like her, the same thing. A lot of times guys will feel super restricted when we're talking to these ladies, because it's like, man, you're super into yourself and you're restricting because you feel you don't want to be rejected, and then that self-doubt kind of falls into it, and now you're fumbling over your words, and the girl's sitting there and she's like, he doesn't really have that much confidence. And so if you really want to maximize and express self, like, you can build confidence, you can create, you can work on charisma. I personally believe that it's a skill. And so always don't believe that you're less than. Don't believe that you can't become. You always want to be, and being is an action. It's a verb. And so you in order to be, you must do. And you have to do consistently. And so always step forth in that. And as you step forth, you'll gain more and more confidence, because the more you continue to venture into the unknown, the more the unknown will become known. And the more you become known, the more the unknown becomes known, the more confident you'll begin to walk within it. And so, my guys, and my young ladies, when you first are venturing down whatever journey you are, have that, and really it'll come a sense of faith. You'll have to have a sense of faith, because even though you can't see what's right in front of you, you're certain of the set outcome or destination, because you know, all right, no matter what happens, I'm gonna begin to step forth each and every time. I helped my brother with his basketball, and he sent me a text a day ago, and he was like, hey, I just touched the rim. He's like 13, and he's been trying to touch the rim for like 2 years now. And in the beginning, he couldn't even, like, he was nowhere close to the rim when he first started, but now he's touching the rim, and maybe in a year or two he'll be dunking. And so it's the same thing in any endeavor in life. When you first begin, you're not gonna, as I said before, you're not gonna be very good at it. I remember when I first started powerlifting, I could barely hit parallel, and then a couple years later, I'm squatting 600 pounds. And so just realize that when you first start something, the learning curve, and Jordan Peterson talks about this, and Huberman talks about this. There's a plethora of other individuals that talk about this. There's scientific articles on this. When you first begin something, the learning curve is like, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing. And all of a sudden there's like this huge wave and understanding. And so I've made videos talking about where like you want to be a sponge and you want to continue to soak up, and not just in one perspective, but in multiple areas, because this will aid in the general overall concept of what you're trying to learn. And so it'll expand and help you reach higher levels of understanding. But in relation to you beginning to express yourself, you're going to need, it's kind of like the same thing. You're going to have to express yourself in not one multitude, because some people are very good on camera, but they get in front of a young lady and they can't do it, or they get in front of a crowd of people and they can't do it, or they go into a new environment and they can't do it. I'll use myself for another example. When I enter into a new gym or a new environment, I feel shaky. I feel like, oh my God, like I feel a little bit of fear. I feel a little bit of anxiety. And so what I realized was, and this could be from our, it could be a genetic thing for a survival mechanism for us as human beings, because when you enter into new environments, and I've thought about this as well, it's most likely because we're picking up on potential threats, and the threats could, if this was in the past, it could lead to the detriment of our survival. But in modern times, this doesn't really serve us, because in modern times, there's not really, if you live in a first world country, there's not much going on that will be a threat to you, unless you're like in a major city, you're like in a dark alley or something, there's some hooded figure walking up towards you. But if you're not in that kind of environment, then you have to kind of overwrite this genetic survival mechanism. And so you have to consciously in your mind be aware of what's going on, and then from there, like, okay, now I know what's going on. Now I know, okay, this is just something that's going on with that, it's just in my mind, and I need to override this and continue to step forth in courage and be brave, because each one of us has our inherent uniqueness, and you don't need to feel as though you aren't at the same playing field, or you're not at the same level as someone else. They might have accomplished some things. They might be at a mastery level in their realm of discipline, but there are things that you bring to the table. You just have to continue to remember, okay, who am I? What am I? And what have I done that has gotten me to this place where I can feel comfortable stepping into a room and having that self-confidence and that self-respect. You guys stay blessed. Enjoy the rest of your day, and continue to express yourselves. We only get one opportunity to live life on this planet, and don't waste this opportunity restricting yourself. The more you begin to express self, the more you'll begin to connect with the things around you and the people around you, and the more you'll be able to connect with nature and see the awe and the beauty that exists all around you. You guys stay blessed and enjoy the rest of your day.